You are tuned in to Up Baltimore online radio. Please note that the views and opinions expressed are of the host and not of Lady J Media. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm Dee.
And I'm Quintana.
Welcome to the 50 Shades of Red talk show,
where we encourage, empower, and embrace you to live life to the full.
What up, Baltimore? We're so glad to be back on the airwaves with you again. And we just want to thank each and every one of you all for joining us either now or later. And you'll get that part later if you're going to be viewing after the fact. But this evening, we've got a very distinguished young lady with us, and we want you to sit back and relax because we're going to talk about what's love got to do with it. Y'all know that movie? Well, this is not the movie. It could be a movie, probably, if she so chooses to go that route. It could be a movie. So sit down and listen. Please call in and chat with us if you've got questions, comments. Remember, we do everything decent and in order, and we're kind, but we would really love to hear from you also on this topic. What's love got to do with it? Would you like to do the honors?
I sure would. So our special guest today is Evangelist Patricia Fowler. She's an advocate, an author. She's an evangelist, a teacher, a minister of the gospel, and a speaker. And her mission is to equip and assist other young women and adult ladies with from heartache to pain, to overcome heartache, pain, and struggles that they may have endured by educating them to embrace who they are in Jesus and not allow life's hurts to stop them from their healing. I'm so glad to have her on the show today. She's going to talk about a very important part of her life. She's going to give her testimony and her story about being a victim of domestic violence. And Trish goes to prisons to talk to women about this. And I'm really encouraged to hear her story. Trish co-authored a book with Dee and I called Relentless Pursuit, A Spiritual Journey Within. And we are so honored that she accepted our invitation to join us today. Welcome, Trish.
Welcome, Trish. We are so excited to talk with you. We do more messenger and text messaging, but now this is a little bit different. We get to finally see how beautiful you are.
Yes.
And thank you so much for agreeing to come on and be transparent.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, we're going to just dive right in without further ado. And Trish, just know, relax, because Quintana and I, we cut up, we carry on. And, if we make a mistake, we just keep it moving, So tell us a little bit about you growing up. A little synopsis of you growing up.
I grew up with 2 brothers and 3 sisters. My mom was single for a while. My dad wasn't in the picture far as I can remember, maybe like I was 5. And then when my youngest sister was born, her dad was around. So her dad actually raised me. My biological father, I didn't actually meet him until I was 42. until I was 42. So my dad was my dad. That was really the only dad I knew, because when my father left, I didn't, I was young. I didn't know him. I didn't have any memories or anything. And then the dad that raised me, he passed away. So my mom, she had 7 kids. I had a sister that passed that was 2 years younger than me when she was a baby. And my mom, hard worker, did it on her own, struggled. I wouldn't say we had a bad life growing up. We didn't have a lot. It was tight, but we were happy. We had each other. We had love. And I think then when I look back, that's what mattered the most. That's what mattered the most. But of course, when you grow up, I went to school, graduated, couldn't afford to go to college right away. So I didn't go to college till I graduated from college in 2011. So I think I was 47.
Congratulations on that. That's a golden nugget for somebody out there, hint, 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 that think that they're too old to go to college.
It's never too late. And I'm actually back in school now as well. So it's never too late. Never too late. So then I had my own family. I got married I believe I was 27. I was working as a legal assistant. I had my daughter, who's my oldest, when I met my husband. Got married, had 3 sons. The first year let me go back a little bit. He asked me to marry him about 3 or 4 times. And I told him no each time. And I think the last time he asked me, I think I said yes, just because he kept asking me. And so, of course, I was young. I thought we were in love. So after we had the first child, I noticed he starts changing. I mean, he was like the perfect gentleman when I met him. I met him through my sister's husband. They used to work together. I mean, this man never cursed. He was polite. He bought me flowers every week. He would take me shopping, try to give me his check. And I wasn't one of those women that, you got a guy that worked, like get his money or whatever. I worked, I had my own money. But I wasn't that type of person. I put myself in that plain Jane kind of category. I'm a homebody. I go to work, go to the gym. I believed in God, but I was not saved at the time. And neither was he. I don't even know if he believed in God at the time. So after our first son, I noticed he starts hanging out. He starts drinking. He's gone on the weekends from Friday to Monday. Payday is on Friday. Come back Monday, no pay. And this started going on and on. It started getting worse. Then I noticed he started yelling at me. He just started getting aggressive. And then after my second son, he seemed to get really jealous. When I had my second son, I gained about, I think I was like 250 pounds when I had my son. And back then, I was probably like 110, good 110. So I was like 250. He just would start putting me down about my weight. If I went somewhere, he would make sure that one of the kids was with me. So when we came back, he could ask them, did I stop anywhere? Did I talk to anybody, specifically any guys, things like that? And then he just started yelling at me, cursing at me, which was really a shocker because he never cursed or any of that in the beginning. So as time went on, and then we had our third son, and then, the abuse started. I think the initial abuse was he went out one night. When he later I found out he was cheating on me. He went out one night and came home, and the dog had gotten sick. Now I'm asleep, so I don't know this. So he wakes me up mad, fussing and cussing because the dog got sick and it hadn't been cleaned up. So I think that was the first instance he kind of did like that with both his hands, smacked my like that, my head like that on my ears. I
Mhm.
think that was the first
Mhm.
instance, physical abuse. A lot of it was verbal abuse, but then it got physical. Got physical to the point one day we were fighting physically. I called the police and I told him what was going on. He snatched the phone out the wall. And you know, if kids play on the phone, you dial 911 and hang up, they call right back. They
Mhm.
didn't call back. They didn't come out. They didn't do nothing. And the only thing saved me that day was the year before he had gotten shot and he had a colostomy bag. So he had a scar in his stomach.
Mhm.
Kicked him. That was the only thing that got him off me from him holding me up against the wall, choking me. And it was at that point, and this is after a couple of years of abuse, and he had come up to my job a couple of times, making a scene, cursing me out. Um, I didn't know what to do. I didn't say anything because I knew if I said something, that was going to add fuel to the fire. My coworkers,
Mhm.
they were scared to death. They didn't know what to say or do. So of course when he left, they were like, "Oh, are you okay? Are you okay?" I've learned how to compartmentalize it, the embarrassment, the shame, because there was nothing I could
Mhm.
do. I'm just hoping that he don't reach across the desk and grab me, in front of these people and they're not going to do nothing. So he didn't do that. He made a
Right.
scene and then he left. So then it would just be, he would just argue, if he came home, the kids were bathed and in the bed, dinner was cooked and on the table. He would look at it and say, "You cook this. This is not what I want." Open the front door and throw it out the door. So it was just like nothing was
Mhm.
ever good enough. Nothing was
Mhm.
ever good enough. And it got to a point he got so jealous that I used to got to the point where I would just keep my head down like this. If we went anywhere, if we were in the car, and anybody know if you're in a car, you're driving, you pull up to a light, you automatically you go like that. You look
Mhm.
over. If I
Yes.
and a man was in the car, he would automatically assume I wanted that person. Like I don't even
Mhm.
know who it is. It didn't
Mhm.
matter. Because one time he tried to push me out the car to say go with that person that I didn't even know. You know,
Mm.
he saw me speak to the neighbor who was a male. He would have a fit. One time I remember I was sitting on our patio balcony, and across the court, the apartment right across from us, some guys lived over there and they were on their balcony. They spoke to me. He saw them. He kicked our balcony out, like shattered the whole glass. Talk about
Wow.
embarrassed, shattered.
Wow.
So it just got to a point I could, again, if we were in the car, I would keep my head down in my lap. I wouldn't
Mm.
look to the left or the right because I didn't know what he was going to do, how he
Mhm.
act, and if he had been drinking, I kind of knew it was going to be a fight. I,
Right.
I
Mhm.
knew it, so I learned to just kind of prepare myself. But it got to a point. Nobody knew what I was going through at the time. My family didn't know. No, nobody knew. Nobody knew.
Mhm.
So I wasn't saved then, but it was a church on the corner from where we live. And when he would go do little side jobs, I would take the kids and we would sneak and go to church. That was
Mhm.
my outlet. That was
Mhm.
like the only place I could get a little bit of sanity from is sneaking
Right.
to church. But of course, when
Right.
he found
Mhm.
out and then found out I was tithing or giving them offerings or whatever, because I wasn't a member, he was not having it. You are
Mhm.
you are not giving our money away. Our money.
Right.
So
Right.
that, but it
Right.
got to the point that I realized if I didn't get out, either he was going to kill me or I was going to kill him. And one day I came home from work because it got to the point the only thing I could do was go to work and come home. That was it. He controlled what I wore. Like after I had my middle son and gained all that weight, I lost the weight. I think I got down to like a size 7. I started going to the hair salon. Then he was like, "You screwing somebody on your job. You was
Mhm.
complaining about the weight and how I was looking, calling me piggy and all that. I lost
Mhm.
the weight, got myself back together,
Mhm.
And now I got to be messing around, which was never the case. Never out of the 10 years we were together, I stayed loyal despite what some people told me I should have done because of what he had done. And I told them that's not going to make me feel any better. You know, women do that. Their husband cheat on them. They go cheat, tit for tat. It still doesn't make me feel better for what he did to
Right.
me. You know, while he's out doing whatever he want to do and his family is supporting him in that nonsense, you know, and then when it's confronted, I remember when he got shot and I went to the hospital. Mind you, I had to catch the bus because his family wouldn't give me a ride. They didn't like me, but that was a so the one day I went, the girl he was messing with was in the room. Now nobody said, Patricia, you know, he has a friend in there, you know, before you go in there. Nobody said nothing. So I go in, I see her, I don't say nothing right away, but I confront her in the hospital, you know, and his family was like, what's wrong with you? And that's his friend. And I'm like, I'm his wife.
Right.
I'm his wife.
Trish, what coping mechanisms did you use during the course of these abusive cycles that would occur? What coping mechanisms did you use?
For me, the main thing was writing. I'm an avid writer. So I was just writing, journaling everything I was going through and praying. Writing and praying. That's what really got me through. And the fact that when I really felt like giving up, at one point I wanted to take my life, but I looked at my kids' faces, and that's what really kept me alongside God, because I knew if I had have taken my life, what would have happened to them?
How did you protect the children from seeing all the abuse?
They weren't really protected. My daughter, who was the oldest, when me and my husband got together and got married and got our own place, my daughter was living with my mother. So she didn't see really anything. My son was the ones that saw mostly. My oldest son especially, because he was the older, so he saw mostly. The younger two kind of really didn't know what was going on. But my older son, he saw it a lot. But writing is what saved me, and then just picturing my kid's face, you know, without me there.
Right.
My kid's face.
So, Trish, I think statistics say that 1 in 3 women or 1 in 4 men experience some form of physical violence during their lifetime. For you, what was the turning point? You said this was 10 years. What was the turning point for you? What made you decide to get out of this relationship?
I mean, I think the fact one because I was unhappy and had been for so long. I saw a picture of when I was younger. My frame was really small. Like I said, I weighed about 110. And even after my kids, I lost the weight. I was still kind of small, probably like a 8, 9. But I saw a picture of myself, and I was so thin. I had to be. When I think I probably was like 80 pounds.
Wow, Trish.
Myself, I thought like I looked really good. You know, this little teeny waist, you know, small. My hair was all broken off from stress. But back then they did wild haircuts, so it could have been like an asymmetric.
Yeah.
So I didn't really think too much about it until I saw that picture of myself. That was a big factor in me saying, if I don't get and the fight where I called the police, if I don't get out, he's going to kill me. And then also I thought about him hurting the kids, because my oldest son was a twin, and one of the twins died while I was still pregnant. And so my middle son is a tough guy. When he was little, he was real tough. My oldest son was like a whiner. He used to make them fight, trying to make the older one tough. And I'm like, you don't make them fight each other. you put them together to gang up against somebody on the outside. But he
Right.
that so much and just punch on them and punch on them. And I just said, it's going to be me or him. And I knew I couldn't leave the kids. So more likely it was going to be him. And one day he was not there. I came home from work. I got my kids. And during this time, the probably last 5 years of my marriage, I was like isolated from my family and friends, my mother, my mother.
Mm.
That day I came home and I was just like, he's not here. This is my chance. And I don't know if I'm going to get it again. So me praying, listening to God, I took my kids and went to my mother. I said, I need to stay here 3 months till I get on my feet. She didn't ask no questions. She didn't condemn me, judge me, or anything. She let us stay there. And even at that point, I was scared of him because what I told him was we left and went to stay with my mom because we wanted to get a different place. Didn't make sense, but he didn't even understand that. Why would you just leave the place just because you want another place? But then after I was there about a month at my mom's, I finally told him, I'm done with this. I'm tired of being unhappy. I'm tired of being sad. I'm tired of being depressed. I'm tired of thinking about wanting to walk out in front of a metro bus to hurt myself. I'm with it. I was like, I'm tired of my kids suffering. And at that point, once I told him that, it was a wrap. It was a wrap. And then, of course, he didn't want to come around because he didn't want to pay child support. Again, I was a legal secretary. I did my own divorce with the lawyer I worked for. Did divorce. And after that was 97. I was like, then we didn't see him for like, when I left him, my sons were 1, 3, and 5. When we saw him again in court for child support, they were 16, 18, and 20.
My goodness. You mentioned fear kept you from confiding in other people. That same fear kept you from confiding in your mother of what was going on in your life?
Yes, my mother always told us, when y'all get grown and have your own families and your kids, she doesn't get in our business. She said, you come to me and say, Mama, this is going on. This is going on. What should I do? Then she will give me her suggestion or her advice or whatever. Although she had told me not to marry him. But, you know, we don't never listen because Mama knows. And I say that to this day. Mama knows.
She knew. She knew. And my grandmother used to say, you child, you make that bed, you got to lie in it, you know? And so,
true.
Yeah.
It's true, but fear, my mother knew me. Like when I left and came to stay with her, she knew something was going on because anybody that knew me knew I always was smiling. Like I have this big silly smile. When I was there, and I didn't tell her right away. One night, me and I think my older sister, because I have 3 sisters, we were just sitting around talking. And I don't know how it started, but then I just started telling them stuff. And my mother was like, I know. She was like, I knew something was going on, but I was waiting for you to tell me.
Right.
When I can recall one time I had got a job downtown with a big law firm. My dream was to be a lawyer. And the second day on the job, I got a call from my neighbor saying we were getting evicted.
Wow.
So I had to leave that job, which I lost. I ended up losing it. I lost that good government job because I had to find somewhere to get our stuff. And I called my mother, who I hadn't spoken to in 2 years, had another baby she didn't even know, and asked her for money for storage, furniture and stuff. And she gave it to me. She never questioned anything that I told her or anything that she knew that happened to me. She just always let me know that she was there and I could have come to her. You know, but I even to his mother one time I remember I had a black eye around Christmas, and my son saw it, and I told them I hit the cabinet. You know how you open the cabinet?
Uh-huh.
I told them I hit myself with the cabinet. So
Mm-hmm.
his mother to talk to her to say what had happened. She said, "Oh, that's your husband." And I said, "Okay."
Mm-hmm.
In other words, she basically
Wow.
told me, "That's your husband. You got to deal with it."
Wow. Wow. And a lot of women will get that from the man's mother. And what that generally tells me is that there is something generational going on there.
Yes.
Where you stood and you took it. You didn't leave.
Yes.
Back then. That was just how men were, you know.
Mhm.
And so that is such a lie. A lie straight from the pit of hell. And I just want to thank you so much for being so candid and sharing. I know that, you know, people say, well, why are they talking about that? Because we need to talk about it to help somebody that perhaps is going through this exact same thing, Trish, that you're going through. And, you know, it's unfortunate that the writing isn't always on the wall in the very beginning. Like you said, he was like, he dropped out of heaven, floating with wings, you know, in the very beginning.
Yeah.
And so it just makes you wonder sometimes, could you have seen this? You know, what was it? You stayed a whole lot longer.
Yeah, 10 years.
And the thing is, back then, I didn't know about a 1-800 number, a hotline, a counselor, shelter.
Right.
I had never heard of any of those things. Excuse me. And the thing is, after the abuse had started and I had seen a lot of different things and had been physically and verbally abused, I started ignoring the red flags, which women do so often. Ignoring the red flags. And that's why in the book, I wrote it, the first time you see that red flag, that's your key to wave goodbye.
What's some of the red flags?
The yelling, just the change in tone. Like I said, when I met him the first 2 years, he didn't curse. He wasn't aggressive or any of that. Those were flags that I ignored. Those were flags that I ignored. The first time you slap me and you say, "Oh, because I had a hard day or whatever." No, it's not because you had a hard day. That's a flag that I ignored. When I found out you cheated on me and you came home drunk and vomiting everywhere and I had to clean you up, and then I find a picture of a woman in your shirt pocket and some panties, that's a flag I ignored. You know,
because you loved him. What's love got to do with it?
See, but the thing is, love has so much to do with it, because 13 says love is none of those things that I saw. None of those things. Love is not pain. Love is not anger. Love does not boast. Love does not leave you bruised. So that's what love has to do with it, because it wasn't love, but I wasn't seeing it. I saw it, but I was ignoring it. I didn't want to see it, you know?
What do you think was going on inside of you that made you feel like you had to stick it out and stay? What was going on there that you just felt like, okay, well, I'm gonna tough it out?
When somebody puts you down so much, you start believing it. You got
you had a mindset.
The mindset.
Yes. You got kids. Who's going to want you? Who's going to take you in? You're fat, this and that. I mean, you're ugly. Y'all wouldn't believe at one point I would not take a picture. I did not like taking pictures at one point because I really thought I was ugly, even though I know that is a lie.
You're beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you. I know that now. I know that now because I've learned to know my worth.
Yes.
I know what God says I am. But when and see, this is why we should listen to God and not man, because man will tell you you're fat, you're good, but God said you're the most beautiful thing in his eyesight.
That's right.
You're worth far more worth than rubies.
Yes.
And Trish, you wrote in your book, and I'm reading directly from your book. You said, let me ask you a couple of questions. Ladies out there, men out there, if you're listening, because men are abused as well. Did God create your physical body? The answer is yes. If so, why would you say that God made an ugly body? Because you have been told this over and over.
Yes.
Did God create your mind and your intellect? The answer is yes. If so, why would you say that God created a dumb, stupid, worthless brain? Because someone said this to you. Yeah. If God created us in his image and in his likeness, then basically what you're saying is that God created a dumb, stupid, worthless, ugly, big, fat blob of nothing.
Yes.
That's what we're saying when we take on those images of what other people are saying to us. And so many times, if it's repeated enough, our subconscious grab it and hold on to it, and it becomes a paradigm of thoughts and habits.
Yeah.
And that's how, and then when we look in that mirror, that's all we see. We don't see the beauty that God created.
Right.
We don't see that powerful sound mind that we have.
Yeah.
So totally. I love how you wrote that.
Yes.
And
that got me really excited.
It takes years to undo all that. It takes years. It took from 97 to 2014 to even say out of my mouth that I had been abused.
Wow.
I always tell people that say, I have people ask me, how can I be an advocate? I say, first of all, you have to be healed and whole, because you can't help nobody. Through counseling, I went through a program called Celebrate Recovery.
Yes.
That was about my divorce and my kids being fatherless. You have to go through the whole process, and it takes time, and it doesn't matter. I know people that have been through worse situations than me. Domestic violence is like sin. It's not one better than the other. You might have just it's still domestic violence. It's still domestic violence. But it takes years to reprogram yourself to get to the point where I can even talk about it without crying. When I talk about it, people say I get angry. No, I get passionate about it.
Yes, that's a difference. Yes. That's a difference. Now, so when you're a licensed practicing counselor now. Congratulations on that LPC license.
Yes.
And you're going to do a great work for individuals. But when you're out and about, say at the Walmart or at the mall, can you kind of recognize that abused person?
Yes.
Just by seeing them? Is it something that gravitates toward you?
Yes.
That's familiar?
Not licensed yet. I'm still in school, because in Virginia, you have to have several different degrees in order to have your business. Like,
I'm speaking it ahead of time. Then you got that.
I received it. Yeah.
You already got that. Anyway.
But I didn't recognize it. For example, I did a workshop on domestic violence, and a young lady that was sitting in the front row, as I was talking, she just started squirming. She just started squirming, and I could feel that something was going on with her. After the workshop, she came to me. She asked me to pray for her. A young woman in her 20s, told me she was married. She had 3 kids. She was pregnant again, and she had been going through abuse with her husband. I prayed with her. I ended up mentoring her for a year. I still keep in contact with her. It's been about 4 years now. I still keep but I can see it. I can see it. People will, if I'm in a workshop environment, people will say something, but also their body language says it all. their body language says it all. Or if somebody's in church, just if I'm around somebody, I can kind of tell. If that subject is being talked about, I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
I just get the vibe of it.
What would you share with our viewers right now if that is something that somebody is going through right now, or if it's that one thing that they've been through and they're out of the situation, but yet they're still holding on to all of the abuse and the trauma that abuse brings? What would you say to them? First of all, if they're still in it, and then after the fact, they're out, but they're still living as though they're still in it.
Okay. So for the ones still in it, what I would say to them first, and a lot of people say, girl, why didn't you just leave him? First of all, you have to think about when you say that to somebody who's dealing with domestic violence. For example, myself, I had four stair-step kids. Who's going to take me in?
The children.
Kids. I didn't have no car at the time. So do I have a job? Do I have money? You know, am I able to take care of my own kids? You have to think about all that and just tell somebody just leave, because first of all, the man may have been the sole financial provider.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So you can't say, girl, just leave him. Where's she gonna go? She doesn't know how to do anything. She doesn't have any ID or stuff like that. You're still in it. Make a plan. Make a plan to get out. And that would consist of first confiding in somebody. Confide in somebody so they know what you're going through. Then I would say get I use myself a plastic tote bin you can get anywhere, and get a duplicate of your ID, your birth certificates.
Oh, good idea.
Yes. Yes.
Your bank information, and give that to somebody, like somebody you trust.
Get it out of the house.
Right, out of the house. I would pack a bag with 3 outfits for myself and each of my children and leave that somewhere. So when you leave, if you leave just like when I left, I gotta go now, I don't have time to get nothing, then you have that bag already packed with a few days worth of clothes that will hold you.
Right.
So it's important that you first know where you're going. Secondly, that you have money. You can always go to 7-Eleven, Walmart, CVS, and buy prepaid debit card.
Yes, that's good.
Put money on it. Give it to somebody to hold. So when you leave, you got a card with money on it. You can pay for the hotel for a week.
Right.
You got to think ahead. You just can't say, girl, let's leave. Well, what about the kids' schooling? What about the house keys?
That's good stuff.
What about the car keys? You know, you have to think about all of those things. If he's living with you and he's not on your lease, go to your rental office. Go to the police station. I have someone in my home that's not on the lease. I want him out, and they will get him out. But for the person that has gotten out, but still their mindset hasn't shifted, they need to get counseling. You need to get counseling. You have to get yourself healed. You have to talk about it. You have to cry. You have to get it out. Get your anger out. Get your bitterness out. You have to ask for forgiveness. You have to forgive that person.
Yes.
Forgive yourself, because I know at one point I blamed myself, and I do say that somebody can only do to you what you allow them to do.
You need to say that again. I read that.
To you what you allow them to
them.
Allowed him to put his hands on me, to disrespect me, to call me out my name, to treat me bad. I allowed it. I never said, don't do that, stop. Never tried to, do anything in my own defense. Y'all see what my shirt says?
I can't see it. What's it say? I am a voice for the voiceless. I love that. And
that's
you sure
Proverbs
are.
31:3.
You sure are.
31:8. So
Okay.
you have to realize that no matter what you're going through, you have a right to defend yourself. You have to speak up for yourself, even in your scared moment. Even in your scared moment, like they say, do it afraid. Do it afraid. Get
Hey,
help.
Patricia, what about the woman that says, oh, but he loves me. He apologized. He promised he would never, ever do that again to me. And I believe him. He asked me to forgive him. And God says we have to forgive 70 times 7. So he loves me. And he went out and bought me this wonderful diamond or the red bottom pumps, the shoes. What about, but he loves me, Trish.
And what I would say to that is, he may tell you that because when your abuser realizes you are going to leave for real, because a woman will make 7 attempts to leave before she actually leaves. Just
7 attempts.
I thought about it. I thought about killing myself to get out of it. I thought of different ways to get out of it. But it wasn't until that day I had that open window of opportunity that I was like, it's either now or never. And they're going to tell you they love you. They're going to tell you everything you want to hear. It sounds so sweet and so good. Just like we're supposed to give 70 times 7. They're going to love you that many more times to keep you there. First of all, my husband used to always say, and I think because I used to tell him I would never leave him. So he didn't think I would ever leave anybody.
Right.
You know, he didn't think that I would really leave because I mean, he was my everything. I wasn't going to leave this man.
Trish.
But I was my life more than him putting his hands on me. More than my kids suffering. More than my kids being angry. Growing up fatherless, yes, it was rough. It was not easy, but I tell these single women, you can do it. You can do it. It's not easy. Getting on the bus with 4 little ones and grocery bags, but you know what? We did it.
Yes, that's right.
We made it through. My youngest is 25. And we made it through.
That's awesome.
Not easy.
Right.
It's not easy, but it can be done because when you realize who God made you to be and what he created you for, you will realize that the love this abuser is telling you and showing you is not the same love that God created me for. When you're putting your hands on me, it should be to rub my feet, to pull my hair back.
Come on.
You know, rub my back, hold my hand. It should smack me upside my head, punch me while I'm pregnant, step on me, or any of those things. That's a different type of love.
Yes, and Trish, one thing that you said in the book, and I'm going to read this verbatim because I really love this, is love is beautiful when it is exhibited in its rightful context and content. What is that rightful context and content?
That is
love to exist.
That God says it should be. Love is not pain. Love keeps record of wrongs. Everybody makes mistakes and couples have disagreements, but we should love each other so much that we know how to come together and agree to disagree if we have to. At the end of the day, we talk through it, we hug it out, and we still love each other the same, even if we don't agree. It doesn't have nothing to do with you calling me all kind of bees, with you smacking me. With you going staying out for 3 days. It's none of that. It's gentle.
Yes.
And peaceful.
Yes. And here's the thing. Bruises, scrapes, all that stuff will heal. But those words, man, those words linger.
Yes.
And you rehash those words long after the bruises are gone, the black eyes are gone, the broke arm is mended. Those words stick around.
For years, in my because I'm doing in school to be board certified Christian counselor right now. And in one of the lessons, it talks about that. It says, remember we used to say sticks and stones might break my bones, but words don't hurt me.
That was such a lie.
It's a
That
lie.
was such a lie.
That's
We
not true
repeated
at all.
it verbatim.
Words hurt
Goodness.
because that's what you remember. And it's
That's right.
that's all
Absolutely.
you're hearing over and over. I mean, for years.
Yes.
These things, you're not good enough. Nobody's gonna want you, and all those type things. You're ugly. You're fat. You know, you're never gonna be anything. When you hear that, but then when you really sit down and let it all out and talk to God,
Yes.
and He shows you who you are. He show you anything He made is beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yes.
Even
Yes.
your accuser. When we look at it for what the word says it is, that's what love's got to do with it.
That's what love's got to do with it. And we've been talking about it from a one-sided perspective. On the other side of that perspective, the abuser is wounded and broken and traumatized somewhere along the lines.
That's right.
For them to feel like that they have to abuse another human being. So there is something wrong there also that needs to be fixed.
True. And what I found out after I left my husband, probably after I left him, I can't remember what year it was. May have been like 2010. I don't know how we connected or whatever. May have been after court. I forgave him, and he was at my house with the kids. He saw a video of myself and my daughter praise dancing together. He broke down when he saw that video, and he apologized to me for everything he had done.
Oh my gosh.
And what I found out was that his mother had went through abuse with his dad.
Yes.
When he was growing up.
Generational.
But she went back with him and stayed with him until just last year when her husband passed. But also, he was almost molested by a man when he was in, I think, middle school.
Yeah.
No. So he had an issue with, so we had the 3 boys. His sisters had girls. Our sons could not play with his sister's kids who were their cousins because he didn't want them to be gay.
Okay.
He didn't want them playing with no girl Barbie dolls. They
Right.
Sissies. My sons are not sissies or gay.
Right.
You know?
Right.
God forbid they were happen to be that, then so be it. But it wasn't because they
played with a doll.
That's
right. Absolutely. Or played with their female relatives, outside and all. Yeah. Yeah. So that was already something implanted in him that was trauma for him.
Yeah.
From the beginning.
Get help. When you don't get help, you carry that on. Now, my sons, my oldest son more so, because he was older, so he understood. Excuse me. He saw a lot growing up. They had anger issues because their dad was absent. Yeah, and me and my oldest son at one point could not stand each other. And when I say could not stand, I birthed this child, but we could not stand each other.
Did he see you? Did he blame you for his dad not being there?
Yes.
Yes.
And it wasn't until I got papers from the court to show him your father is not here because he doesn't want to pay child support. It has nothing to do with me. His family knew where I worked, knew where we were. They had opportunity to see y'all, but I was not going to take my kids to them for their lack of liking me or whatever. I'm not gonna bring them to you. Now you can come see them, ask, can I drop them off or something? But that never happened. When you don't get help, my son, we end up going to counseling because
the children need help.
I couldn't even call him without us arguing about something. It could be calling him to say, take out the trash. It's gonna blow up. It got bad. It got bad. 2008, he saw me. I went to pick him and his friend up. He saw me in a car accident. They thought I was dead.
Mm.
That turned his life around as far as the way he felt about me.
Right.
Over the
Right.
few years, we just talked. We went to counseling. He learned how to. My oldest son, wasn't a real sociable person, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
that died before he was born. So he was a little, I don't know, some probably would say weird. He was real,
Introvert.
secluded to himself.
Mhm.
So he
Mm-hmm.
didn't talk at all. He wasn't sociable. He wasn't a people person. But today, let me tell y'all,
Yes.
if y'all sat down with my son today, from who he was 10 years ago, y'all would say, I know you lying. Not the same young man.
That's the testament of his freedom.
Absolutely. And yours too. And the strength that it took for you to make that change, to break away from that. And you're talking about this from an overcomer's perspective.
Yes.
You're no longer the victim. You are victorious. And that's why we wanted you to come on and share your story from that perspective of being victorious, because there is victory from domestic violence.
Yes.
There is healing, and you can be set free and go on to live a life that is full and exciting and wonderful, like you're doing now, going back to school, doing things that you probably always wanted to do. So in closing, I would like to just give you a couple minutes just to speak to our listening audience, anything that's on your heart, to say to them that would just encourage them that if they're in a domestic violence situation, or if they've been in it and they're out and they need to be healed. Just some closing remarks on what's love got to do with it.
Okay. And first of all, love has everything to do with it. Everything. Because I'm still single today. And I say, when God sends someone, and even if he doesn't, I'm okay with that. But I tell you, I will wait on the Lord, because I've been there, and I will not go back. I will not settle for less. But the one main thing I want to say about surviving domestic violence and being an overcomer, because I also have a book called Triumphant Overcomer.
Yes.
Oh, good.
You have to want it. You have to want it. And I say that about so many things, but that's the key. You have to want it, because you can say, I want to get out. I'm tired of living like this. But if you really in your mind, you saying that, and on the other hand, you're saying, but if I leave him, he going to be with this person, or he, who am I going to be with now? I'm not going to be able to go shopping. No, you have to want it for you.
Yes.
Want it for you. For one, so your parents, your mother, your father, both my parents are gone. Rest their souls, so they don't have to bury you.
Come on.
Yes.
So your kids don't have to bury you.
Yes.
My kids are so overprotective of me. If they think I'm dating somebody, we need to talk to them. Like when and if that time comes, they are ready to have a sit down with this person, because they're not going for it. And I understand it from their perspective. But the main thing I would say is tell somebody, get help. You can call the domestic violence hotline 27 at 1-800-799-SAFE 7233 1-800-799-SAFE. You can talk to somebody. You don't have to tell your name, and then they will connect you with somebody in your state that has like a domestic violence office that you can get help from. But that's where you have to start. You have to make up in your mind that you have learned your value, that you are worthy.
Yes. And I love the fact of how you broke it down. Have a plan. You have to plan this ahead of time.
You do.
And who would be a safe confidant? Who would you say would be a safe confidant to confide in?
I would say someone, if you have a best friend, I didn't. So I didn't have anyone. If you have a best friend that you can really trust, I would say that person, or maybe someone on your job that you may be close to. If you're in church, you should be able to go to your pastor. If you're in church, and a lot of churches don't deal with domestic violence and haven't been trained on how to deal with when their members
Yes. Yes.
But you should be able to go to someone. Again, you can call a hotline and just talk to somebody, and you can call more than once. So at least you have that confidential relationship with someone on that line, because if you call a lot of hotlines, you can build a rapport with them.
Right.
Yes.
Sure.
So if you don't have anyone else, then that would be your option. Your doctor.
Oh, good.
That's a good
idea. Your doctor. Absolutely.
Counseling is confidential. It's confidential unless you're putting your life or someone else's life in danger. So if you went to one, they can't tell anybody anything.
Right.
But somebody needs to know, because God forbid, should Christ delay is coming, when somebody get that call that you've been taken away from here, they're going to say, well, we never knew.
But then again, sometimes a lot of people do know and they look the other way. They don't want to get involved. It's not my business.
Oh, see, you hit it. You said it. And that's what a lot of people say. It's not my business. But you know what? Just as if you came home and you saw somebody strangling your child, you would call the police or you would intervene. You can call the police anonymously. Always. You don't have to give your name or your information. Call anonymously, because it could be your sister, your daughter, your mother. Domestic violence has no discrimination on age.
That's right.
A 5-year-old child to a 5-year-old woman.
That's right.
It doesn't matter, but if you see something, say something.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good, Trish.
Say something, because
that's good.
Saving a life. The same way, now she didn't save his life. The young lady videoed George Floyd. She didn't save his life, but had she not videotaped it, I am sure, as my name is Patricia, that officer would not have been convicted. I'm sure of it. Had it not been for her, the world would not have seen what went
on. Right.
So we have to step up. Put yourself in that person's place. And the sad thing is, a lot of abusers, my husband was the type, he would abuse me, but if he saw someone else doing it, he would jump in to stop it. But you do it to me.
Right.
You want to break it up when you see somebody else doing it. See, it's the mechanism in their head that makes them do that. So it's important to say something and let somebody know what you're dealing with.
Exactly.
Life is short, and people have gotten really crazy since COVID. Domestic violence has gone up 75%.
Wow.
5%.
Wow. And it's about the mindset.
Yes.
It really and truly is. Evangelist Fowler, we thank you so much. Thank you for your transparency. Thank you for coming on, and such good information that you have given us, and given our listener, viewing audience, that I know that somebody needed to hear what you had to say, and you have given them ideas. Now they can go forth and start to plan so that they can be safe and their children can be safe. If not for yourself, Mom, do it for your babies.
Yes.
Do it for your babies. Imagine the fear that they live in day after day, night after night, listening, in the other room, and feel so helpless, can't do anything.
People think because their kids are not getting hit physically that they're not being abused, but they are.
Yes.
They are living it.
Yes.
And if they get help, they're going to repeat the cycle.
That's true. That's true. So on behalf of the 50 Shades of Red talk show, where every woman has a story, we would love to hear what your story is. And so get in touch with us, because you know what? Women, we're doing 99 things exceptionally well, but there's that one thing that keeps us tethered to our past.
Yes.
And what's that one thing for you? We'd love to be able to talk to you about it. You don't have to come on here and tell the whole world, but reach out to us. Reach out to Patricia Fowler. And I'm sure that she would be able to give you resources and to be able to give you information and help, because there is help out there for you. You don't have to suffer in silence. Not in this day and age with all the technology and with everything else that we have. You're not alone. Thank you.
Thank
We
you
love you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you so much, Trish.
We appreciate it. And if we could ever do anything to help you, just reach out and let us know. We're here.
I certainly will.
All righty. Take care. We love you.
Bye.
Bye.